Hello and welcome to another episode of the Opportunity Podcast. I'm your host, Greg Elfrink, head of marketing over here at Empire Flippers. Today, I also, like last episode, or maybe this episode is coming up first, who knows, is a kind of a unique take because we usually don't do this, but I wanted to start doing this more because I feel it would be really, really valuable to you as a listener. So in this episode, I'm not actually interviewing anyone. I'm the one being interviewed by a friend of the company, Matt Raad and Matt and Liz. So Matt and Liz, they have a background a bit in M&A, private equity, all that kind of stuff in Australia. Now they've been spending a lot of time teaching people buying, micro sites and micro businesses and growing them and flipping them. He's also starting to talk a lot about like buying and selling agencies too. So he invited me onto his podcast basically to discuss all things M&A basically. And I thought it was a great conversation, and I figured why just let it sit there when I can, one, promote him a bit, but also share the conversation with you guys because I thought it was a fun conversation. So with that said, hope you enjoy the conversation between me and Matt, and I'll see you on the other side.
Today, we are talking buying and selling online businesses in 2025, and in particular, where are the opportunities? Why? Because as we all know, in 2025, online space has changed dramatically thanks to Google updates. But of course, the big one, AI, the impact of AI, particularly on the sorts of sites that we traditionally have been buying and selling for the last decade or so. It's a very interesting place. Now, there are challenges out there. So we're going to look at those today. But in particular, also, what we want to look at, there are some really good opportunities out there as well, like everything. This is tech. It's a moving place. It's a very fast-moving space now, thanks to AI. We're very excited about it, but we do want to also address the challenges. So I was thinking today, who should we speak to? I've got the perfect person for us on the Digital Investors Podcast. His name is Greg Elfrink. He is the content manager of Empire Flippers. Now, Greg has deep experience, not only in content marketing, but also our favorite topic, our digital investor community, SEO. Thank you, Greg. But also, Greg is very passionate about buying and selling online businesses, all styles. And the great thing about talking to someone like Greg, he's across all the deals on the Empire Flipper platform. Plus, he has friends and lots of associates who are doing 6- and 7-figure online business deals. So Greg is a great person to get first-hand experience and the real stats of what is happening out there because he's at the pointy end of the stick when it comes to online business sales. So Greg, thanks so much for coming along today on the Digital Investors Podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I started off as content manager, but now I'm the head of marketing. But you and I have just said the word content so much offline, I forgive you.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you're the head of marketing. But basically, you and Andy are running Empire Flippers and driving. So you see a lot of deals. You're very hands-on, I take it, at Empire Flippers across all the deals.
Yeah. So it's Andy, me, and two other managers who are primarily running the business these days. I see a lot. Like Andy is more in the weeds than me, obviously, because he's like in on the actual deals. But I've done consulting. I've helped a lot of my friends exit. Like we've created, I think the number is now 89 millionaires at the moment of exit. So in my view, we've created well over 100 millionaires because we don't count the 900K exits, right? Which has been a lot of those. But yeah, I was employee number 4 at EF.
Yep.
When I first joined the company, I remember talking to our co-founders and we had this deal. I think I was in the company for like 2 months. And the deal was $150,000. And our CEO, or one of our co-founders at the time, Joe, he's like, oh, Greg, everything changes at 150K. Like it's a way different deal, And then earlier this year, Andy and our team helped sell a $13.5 million e-commerce store. So times have changed.
Wow, what a difference, Greg. Yeah, this is really cool. Also, to put it in context for our listeners, I do have to mention, Greg, it's particularly relevant to our community. Share your background real quick. Like, where did you start? Here you are, online business legend. Greg speaks at lots of conferences, all sorts of conferences all around the world. You're constantly traveling and talking about online, businesses, content marketing, SEO and stuff. But where did you start? And where are you from too?
Yeah. So I started like many internet marketers as a oil field roughneck in Alaska. I'm from Alaska, born and raised. So I worked in the oil field for I think about 8 years, on rigs. So I worked in 6 miles off the north coast of Alaska, so even further colder than
Yeah.
what people normally think. I have a lot of funny stories there. Like I saved my welder from a polar bear attack. I
Oh,
fought a
wow.
rabid fox with a squeegee.
Yeah.
Things you do in the tundra. But I hated it, so I taught myself internet marketing. I failed at a lot of different things, from agencies, affiliate sites, and you name it. But I was telling you yesterday, like towards the end, I had given up on any optimism and just had this like gritty cynicism to everything. But I was like,
Yeah.
I don't care how long it takes. I am going to figure this out type of
Sure.
mentality. And I started doing freelance writing because I'm a very fast writer. Like I write novels and poetry for fun. And I knew one thing for certain, that all the SEOs at the time absolutely hate writing content. So
Yes.
I undercutted everyone. I charged half a cent a word. Like even the guys in India and the Philippines couldn't keep up with me, for
So
how
you were
much
doing
I was
this in the
charging.
evening on the oil rig and stuff, were you? And
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
moonlighting, literally moonlighting.
So I would work my 12-hour shift from 12 a.m. to noon, and then I would go up into the TV room that we had in the camp, because there was this one corner of the TV room, right where you could see the seams of the frost like bleeding into the building, where I had a decent Wi-Fi connection. So I would write for my clients for an hour or two after my 12, 13-hour shift. I was telling you, one of my clients, I wrote so much plumbing in Ohio and roofing in Perth articles. But one of them, he loved me because I write so much for him. He found out that I was just freelancing. He's like, "What? I would be burnt out if I were you." Like, dude, I've been burnt out for years, but you still got to pay your bills. You know what I mean? But yeah, fast forward, I saw Empire Flippers put out the content manager job,
Yep.
and I thought to myself, well, here's another job I'm never going to get. I might as well apply. I personally love marketing. I've loved marketing since high school. I've always found it fascinating. I feel as like the most applied form of art. But the issue I've always had is I also had no college education, so no one would look at me. I was just an
Ah,
oil field roughneck, right?
yep.
And I purposely did not go to college because, at least in America, I view most of those degrees as like a culturally acceptable scam.
Yep.
So-
God,
but
that's so.
with HR software, you don't have that tick. They just auto reject you usually, right? But yeah, so EF ended up hiring me, and I moved out to Vietnam for training, and now I do the whole digital nomad thing. Help the company become close to a nine-figure company, starting at very low six figures.
Yep.
And I've worked with helped sell over 2,400 businesses at this point, from small entrepreneurs to private equity, family offices. We kind of created the FBA aggregator boom. I always call them our
Yes. Yep.
stepchildren, because whenever they raise money, how they would always get their first few deals was registering an Empire Flippers account.
Yep. That's right. Yeah, you guys did a lot in that space. So you've worked with a lot of big buyers with big budgets then for
Oh
online
yeah.
businesses.
Yeah, all across the board, whether someone looking to do a side hustle, maybe they're still working like a 9 to 5 kind of
Yeah.
scenario, and they want to buy more of a side hustle business, all the way up to, like I said, family offices, private equity, strategics. Like we sold a business, I don't think it was the $13 million deal, it might have been another one, but we sold that to a international conglomerate. So we have experience, like a very diverse array of experience across multiple different buyers and seller types. Probably
This
more than almost any other broker. I don't know anyone that has as much as us.
All right, this is perfect. So you've seen a lot then, like all of us have, but you are seeing all these deals right now as we record this and seeing the impacts of AI and the Google algorithm updates. What I'm interested, let's start out, although I will just mention, just hit me there. Here you are, Alaska oil rig, and you're known for writing about roofing in Perth. So
I wouldn't say I'm known for it. I never got credit for those articles in terms of author names.
yeah, you became an expert in roofing in
Oh,
Perth, Australia. That's just
Matt, before we move on, I think this will be a funny story for you and your audience. So once I got into Empire Flippers, you know probably as well as me, most niche site owners are very secretive about their
yes, yeah,
sites with other, especially with other SEOs, right?
yep,
But since I work at EF, I know all the secrets because like you got to tell me if you're gonna sell, right?
yep,
And so once I started becoming like a bit more known in the SEO affiliate crowd, a few of my friends who are very famous SEOs, actually, you would definitely know them, and your audience probably would too. They started asking me about, could I sell this type of site on EF? And I'd be like, is it thisSite.com? Like, How do you know that? Like, I wrote all the content for it because you hired a content agency that farmed it out to me.
That's cool. All
So I
right.
ended up selling a lot of the businesses that I, funny enough, wrote the content for when I was on the oil rig.
There you go. Well, that's actually really cool. So now I think this really, Greg, this really puts it in context for our listeners why you're such a great person to talk to and, kind of pick your brains about what's happening in the marketplace now. What are some of the opportunities? So, in a nutshell, like say with sales, what have you seen in the difference between, say, this year, as we record this, 2025, from over the last couple of years, which have been an absolute boom time for all of us online, no matter what you were doing online? How are things shaping up so far with the new changes that we're seeing out there?
Yeah, like I mentioned to you, I think the industry, at least the affiliate site industry, is wounded, but that doesn't mean it's over, right? And there's still opportunities here. And as you said a few years ago, like 2020 to like early 2023, absolute insane time
Yep.
to be a digital entrepreneur. Like we were selling $1 million business a week. It was wild. Just
Yeah.
you couldn't go wrong. Everything looked so easy. But easy
Yep.
times always lead to hard times, and hard times shake out the people who got too used to the easy times, right? So like if you look at multiples right now, yeah, they're worse than they
Mm.
were in 2020 to that early 2023, but they're also better than 2019 and earlier. So that's the thing
Okay.
people always forget about. Like I have a
Yeah.
lot of seller friends that are like, "Oh, I'm going to wait till another like 2020 thing happens." Like you're going to wait for three different global black swan events to all happen
Yeah.
in perfect unison? Like what are you talking about? This is
Yeah.
not, this is unlikely to ever happen again in your entire life.
Yeah.
Probably a couple lifetimes where all those events are working perfectly, right? So, but if you look at like multiples in 2025, like we're still selling affiliate sites at, on an average of between 25 to 29x. And if it's a high quality one, like
Wow.
30 to 34x. And if you look at 2019, we were selling a lot of them for less than 20x, like before 2019. Like
Okay.
some of them sold for 16, 18x. So I still think it's a great time to sell. It's harder, much harder than 2020 to 2023. But when I say harder, I also just mean normal because 2020 to 2023 was abnormal,
It
right?
was abnormal. Okay. So for us buyers,
Good news for buyers.
yeah. I was just about to say this is great time for buyers, and this is what we're saying for people that know what they're doing. This is obviously a fantastic time to be looking at buying online business, any kind, but affiliate sites, any kind. What's changed for buyers? So are things more negotiable? So I know you're saying the multiples are the same, and obviously you're from Empire Flippers. You want to build that up, and but I'm come on, Greg. I want to buy, right? So are things a lot more negotiable now?
Absolutely. So we're super buyer friendly. Like our philosophy is always we want the buyer and the seller to both win in a deal, and if they do, then we win. Like the repeat customer for a good broker is not the seller, it's the buyer, and often sellers become buyers because they got all the
Yep.
capital right. So we want everyone to win in a reasonable way that everyone's happy, right? Unlike some people would just like jack up the price to try to get the and pressure the buyer into a really bad deal, which we can talk about. I know some horror stories on that, but in general, from like 2020 to 2023, because there was that absolute feeding frenzy, it was really difficult to negotiate anything. Like you even have
Yeah.
private equity people for the first time, as far as I'm aware, buying businesses worth less than $1 million, which is
Yeah.
usually considered too small because
We've never
even they were
seen
getting
that.
pushed out. It was
Yep.
so competitive, right? Now that a lot of, ironically, a lot of those private equity people are dead in the water because they had no business buying businesses at those multiples nor running those type of businesses because they just didn't know how to operate them. This is a really good time for buyers because like 2024 was a worse year for both buyers and sellers than 2025,
Okay.
regardless of the business model. And the reason why is in 2024, a lot of the buyers like that weren't the private equity people that went nuts. They were like, I can't get a good deal because sellers still had this unrealistic
Ah,
expectation, right?
yes.
So now they are starting to wake up to reality, which I always joke that for sellers, my job is to help you break your dreams so I can help you wake up and become actually rich. Like,
Yep.
oh, my business is worth $3 million. Like, no, it's not. It's worth $1.5 million. But I will still make you a millionaire. You know?
Yep.
So now is a really good time. And because sellers know that buyers in general are more hesitant now, they want to, you really need to justify it to them. They're also way more flexible on things like seller finance, on earnouts, even on full on price, right? So this is all very good news for buyers. There's less competition in the market and there's less dumb competition in the market. And by dumb, I mean people raise like $100 million. And
Yep.
I had a guy, I think it was in 2021. He made fun of me because of my no college education. He went to the Wharton Business School, right? He like put in an offer on a deal. I asked him like, dude, you haven't even done any due diligence. He's like, yeah, but I heard Thrasio is like putting an offer on it. So good enough for them, good enough for me. Like, dude, didn't you go to the Wharton Business School? Like, what are you
Wow.
doing?
Wow.
So like, I
Okay.
knew that would end well. But yeah, now is a very good time from a buyer perspective to get in on some businesses for sure.
And one of the things I'm really interested in with Empire Flippers that's always impressed me is just how flexible you. So I come from an M&A background and I used to do bricks and mortar businesses in the multi-million dollar range. And it was tricky as brokers, vendor finance, especially here in Australia. It wasn't a popular thing 20 years ago. Particularly brokers don't like facilitating those sorts of deals or
Yeah.
creative deals. But you guys seem to be very flexible around any kind of deal. Is that an easy thing for me as a buyer? If I come and buy a website through you guys, if I say, look, Greg, I don't want to pay everything up front. I want to do something I want to do an earn out, or I want to just pay
Mhm.
them this amount and then I'll pay X amount per month for the next 10 months or something. Can you guys facilitate that? Is that a normal thing for you guys? And are you seeing a lot more of those sorts of deals?
Well, we've always seen a lot of them. Like anything above $500,000 usually has some kind of bit of seller finance or earnout. Even sometimes above 200K, though anything underneath 200K typically is bought by an all cash offer. So yeah, we're very open to all of that, like seller financing, earnouts. Like we've done tons of deals like that, and we facilitate the deals. So like our team manage, unless like the seller and buyer specifically asks us not to, we manage that whole thing because we only get paid our full commission once that whole thing is done too, right? So we would never tell a seller to take the deal if we think we're not going to get paid, right? Like our incentives are aligned. To answer another question here is a lot of brokers don't like these kind of deals. And I was telling you, the reason why they don't like this creative financing stuff is because they want their commission, right? And most of the brokers are kind of similar to real estate agents in that you can become a real estate agent in like a week or two just taking a test, but that doesn't mean you know how to buy and profit from a rental. You're not an investor, you're a salesperson, right? So you don't understand real estate. Like you understand how to sell it, but not how to like invest it, right? So we understand that there's all these different tools. And we would be open to even things like, vendor financing, revenue-based financing. In fact, I believe we now have sold one with revenue-based financing where
Oh,
that
yeah.
buyer did like no money out of his own pocket. He got, I think it was Wayfinder that the e-commerce store was on, and they gave him so much RBF, he literally covered over half of the business without touching any, like half of the acquisition price of the business just using RBF. And then he did the rest on like a 2 year seller finance, which was like 200K or something like that, right? So like when people joke, oh, zero money out of pocket deals don't exist, like no, they do exist, but you just have to be a little bit more advanced. So from a broker perspective, one of the reasons why we don't like it sometimes is because buyers will hear like the gurus on YouTube talking about it. And I'm friends with a lot of those gurus, a lot of them are real,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
But the person watching that doesn't have enough experience to use this kind of tool. And they don't understand that yes, you are using none of your own money, but all the risk is on you, and you're making the business more fragile with the debt stack. But yes, you can absolutely do that. And from our perspective, it's a buyer risk, not a broker seller risk, because the seller still gets paid, right? If you
Yep.
do vendor financing or revenue based financing, the seller's still getting a big check, and then the broker just takes their commission out of that, right? So
Mhm.
to us, it's no problem. So.
Okay. Cool. So if you're listening to this and you're looking to buy, you can negotiate good deals with Empire Flippers, but in particular with earnouts, it's not a problem, which is a really nice way to buy a business. And like you said, and Greg, it's interesting, my personal mentor back when we were doing bricks and mortar businesses always taught me the same thing as what you just said. He said, Matt, both parties have to be reasonably happy. And that's the way we do it. Because they're never going to be perfectly happy, but we need to keep both parties reasonably happy. And it's interesting. I will come back to something that you said there. And for a lot of our listeners who are beginners, you need to be thinking about this. Greg, you mentioned that a lot of buyers end up buying lots and lots of online businesses. Obviously, you treat this as a long-term relationship game as well. So both parties do have to be reasonably happy in the deal.
Absolutely. And there's no reason why it shouldn't be. I think inexperienced buyers and sellers, when they approach negotiations, are coming at it from completely the wrong angle. They're like two cowboys in a John Wayne video, like going down the street, like who can fire the quickest, right? Which is completely wrong. It's not a showdown, it's a collaboration. And collaboration inherently means compromise, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Like you as the buyer should ethically want the seller to get a huge payday for what they built. And the seller ethically should want to make sure that the buyer is buying their baby at a reasonable price and not getting like Florida swamp land.
Yeah.
Like we want
Yeah.
to make sure everyone is happy. And buyers and sellers, they often end up working together either during the seller finance or earnout section of
Yeah.
the deal or on other projects. We've sold deals where that seller and then the buyer come back like a year later and now they're business partners on their own little like portfolio because they got along so well, right? Like why would you
Yeah.
make such a great connection like a buyer or a seller like not want to hang out with you anymore, right? Like these guys are awesome to work together if you have a good personality with each other.
Well, one of our favorite sellers of websites. We've known him since we've been doing this for more than a decade. And it's exactly that. He builds these really cool websites and then he needs a bit of quick cash flow. He knows I'll just contact Matt and Liz, and say, hey, and so we always negotiate a deal. And we've bought quite a few websites off him over the years and they've gone, some haven't gone so well, but I can tell you
As we do,
plenty
yes.
have gone extremely well though. But it's a thing based on trust. And we each now know where we're coming at. I say, mate, I'm not going to take that risk at that multiple. I know what you've done to the website. Come on. If you want the cash and hassle-free relationship. So you're seeing that happen even at the broker level within your within all the listings that you guys are selling. And like you said, it is something I've noticed. There's quite a few people that buy multiple sites through Empire Flippers over the years, which is
Yeah.
really cool. So
Yeah,
listeners, think about this, guys. This is a long game and it's about relationship building as well. It's a small world in this day and age, particularly in the online space when you're getting into those bigger sites as well.
Oh, absolutely. And buyers are, like I said, they're the most frequent customers. They're the ones that come back to the broker. Like a seller might sell a business once every few years, but a buyer might buy several businesses in the same year. Like we had a guy who bought, I think, 15 businesses from us in a single year, which is pretty wild. But
Pretty cool.
uh but like the secret is like everyone in this space, until they really get into buying and selling, the secret is everyone thinks, or the myth, I should say, the myth is like you make all the money when you sell, which is true. You do make a lot of money, but what they don't realize is you can make a lot more money by buying because buying a business allows you to sell way, way, way quicker. So like those
Yeah.
sellers who sell like once every few years is because they need 24, 32 months of history, right? But if you go and buy a business, you don't have to wait 32 months. You already have that history. It's yours now, right? It doesn't just disappear. So like we had, this is a crazy story, and I do not recommend anyone to do this, but it illustrates my point because like
All
what
right.
I'm about to say is very risky, and I think it's a bad thing to like base your investment stuff on, but it's funny. So we had this guy, he bought $100,000 affiliate site from us. This is a few years ago, and the site was like super competitive in terms of like so many buyers wanting this little site. And at the end, while it was in our migration, so we hadn't even like handed over the site yet to the buyer. The deal was just struck like an hour ago. Like we got the money right into our bank account, and he reached out to us in our ticketing. He's like, "Hey, was there any other buyer interested in this?" And we're like,
No.
"Oh yeah, there was like pretty hot competition." It's like, "Well, if you reach out to them, I'll sell it right back to them for 115K." They're like, okay." So we reached out to them all, and
Wow.
the dude made like 15K, like minus our commission, in an hour of owning a business. You cannot start a business from scratch in an hour, have sold the business, like this is impossible. So
Okay,
the
yeah,
secret is buying to sell.
that is cool. That's got to be a record, Greg, I think.
I'm pretty sure it is. I don't like, we were laughing internally at this, like, wow, what a
Double
flip,
flipping, double flipping a website in less than an hour before the money
Yeah.
even.
Yeah.
commodity exchange. That's pretty
Uh,
cool. I think the
y-
quickest I resold one ever was 2 months. Two
But
months.
that's still pretty quick as well. Like again, I don't recommend basing your strategy on that because
No,
that is like so random, like
that
prone to failure, right? But it illustrates my point is like once you get to a certain space in this industry, like the mistake a lot of sellers make is they are their business, right? But the things that buyers do is they are not the business that they buy. Their business is lining the shelves of their store with other businesses that they are going to sell. So each business becomes their own product on their shelves. And this is why buyers make so much more money than sellers because they can go way, way, way faster, in my view.
is cool. Yeah, that is really cool. I think that's going to be really interesting for our guys, Greg, especially beginners or intermediate buyers. Need to be thinking about this, guys. This is a long-term game and it's about relationship building. And exactly what you said, Greg, the buyers are the ones that are making the money here and they're buying multiple businesses. So let's have a look at there is challenges now out there with particularly with affiliate sites and stuff like that. So there's creative ways we can buy these. We can get these at bargain prices, all that sort of stuff. What are you seeing working? And based on your experience and across some of your friends and stuff, and maybe if you can share some stories, what is working with affiliate and let's say ad typical, AdSense sites or ad broker type sites. And we'll start first with the bigger ones because you guys do specialize in selling obviously $1 million or 500K to say a million plus. In that range, what's working now in 2025? What advice do you have for people too that want to get into that space?
So if you were going to get into content sites, I was telling you offline, like I'm a lot more like leery of starting one from scratch these days.
Yeah.
Google's gotten so random, but buying one still has a lot of different opportunities in my view. Businesses that are like over a valuation of 500K in the content space, typically like I know you mentioned EAT, right? Usually they have that because I wouldn't say they're like true brands yet. Sometimes they are, but they have a lot more like actual brand stuff happening, which makes it easier to rank, right? Well, now a lot of those sites are still monetized through affiliate and display ads, your classic stuff, right? But like for me personally, the game of digital business, so like if you buy an offline business, like say a plumbing business, something like that, right?
Yep.
There's usually like you can't scale that like a tech startup, but it's often like very stable, right? Versus a digital business, they're inherently a little bit more fragile than an offline business because they tend to be so reliant on a single tech giant. So like the SEO case is Google or e-commerce is often like Facebook with meta ads, right? Stuff like this or Amazon for FBA and Kindle people. So the goal is always like, how do I diversify and hedge my bets where I'm not so reliant on any one tech giant? So when you're looking at these 500K to $1 million businesses, there's usually so much traffic coming to them because if they're monetized through affiliate and display ad and they have that kind of valuation, they're getting serious traffic, which is a serious opportunity to upgrade the business. So I'll share the story since we're kind of like in it. There was this guy, he listed a business with us. I believe it was like slightly above seven figures. I'm misremembering the like specific number, but I think it was like 1.1 or 1.2 million. And it was your traditional display ad site. He didn't even really have any affiliate stuff on it. It was almost all display. But there was like 2 or 4% of his revenue came from this little course that he had on the site, but that course was hosted on Udemy. And if you're familiar with selling courses,
Yeah.
Udemy is a terrible place
$90
because they,
or something silly or $40 or whatever. Yep.
well, yeah, you put it at $90 and they'll sell it for $9. So
Yeah.
without even telling
Yeah.
you,
Yep.
it's a terrible place to have. You have like no control of your own product, basically. And that's where he was selling it. So this
Wow.
buyer that comes in with this
Mm.
crazy amount of traffic, the course is already done. He just needs to take it off
Cool.
Udemy, put it on his own like course holder, like Circle or something like that,
Yep.
direct all that traffic away from the display ads to his course
Yep.
like and you like increase the price from $9 to say $97 because it was a B2B course on a specific use of a
Oh,
software that's very, very
nice.
common. It's
Yep.
like huge
And he's
total
got
addressable market.
tons of traffic
Like,
already.
yeah,
Perfect. And how did
yeah.
it go?
Well, I don't know what he did because he bought it like 4 months from us, but that's what I would do though. That
Yep.
was the opportunity. In fact, that's how we sold the deal because I put an email out to our verified buyer network, like had that kind of money to spend. I told him, here's Greg's hidden gem. Here's what Greg would do with this business. And then we sold it.
Perfect. And he did it.
I sent that out to like our inner circle of buyers that verified a certain amount of money. But yeah, so like for me, the real game with affiliate and display ad sites is how do I take this business and how do I grow the margins? You know, you can still do display and affiliate, but I always recommend how do I control the funnel completely with my own products, my own services, and then I can do all the affiliate and display stuff on the back end. But because now I have the control of this funnel, I also don't have to rely completely on SEO because now I have the economics that can work with like paid ads or some other form of marketing, right?
Gotcha. This is gold. And this is exactly what we teach here. And we've done exactly that. I mean, we were doing that 10 years ago. We love information products. That's kind of been our
I love them too. They're great.
Yeah. And what we do as well over the years, and I joke with our community, Greg, I say everything old is new again. So remember that years ago, everyone, you will know definitely those email lists were huge or always have been. But now, how much more valuable are email lists all of a sudden in this AI age? And this is where the real value is. And so we're saying to people, if you're buying a site, make sure we've got an opportunity to put a community of some kind with it or an email list. And then, can you convert it into selling info products if it's in certain niches? Also, I really like, can you share with us your other strategy around what you can do with affiliate sites, turning them to, because as you know, I'm not a big fan of e-commerce, but I will pay you this one. Can you be able to share what you've seen happen there and why that can be such a smart move?
Yeah, so like before I do that, I want to share the email list story. Then I'll go into him because I think this is also important. I should have brought it up earlier. So like I said, like you want to not flee, but run into fully controlling the business, right?
Yep.
One of the big critical points of failure with affiliate sites is SEO. Everyone knows like AI, like the doom and gloom, like AI is coming for everything, right? So I have this person I met. So I spoke at Affiliate World in Bangkok, and I've spoken at like all the affiliate worlds now, but I was speaking there and I met one of the other speakers. He had a great speech. He talked about how he gets the email first and then he does the affiliate stuff, right?
Yep.
And so I was talking to him, we were having some beers. Like, so how did you like initially come up in the industry? And he's like, oh, I had like a BuzzFeed Viral Nova style site back when that strategy worked really well for like organic Facebook. Now it doesn't work at all for the most part. So I asked him like, oh, so what are you doing now that business died? I assume you don't make any money from it anymore because no one does basically. And he's like, oh no, everyone in my niche, they were so focused on getting someone to click, you won't believe what Johnny Depp did here, to then like click on an ad on their Taboola network. He's like, I didn't do any of that. Like I still had the Johnny Depp article, but all my ads were to my email list. So once the strategy went away, well, I had built an email list of over 1 million people, and I would just send out one affiliate offer every single week. I haven't worked in 6 years. Like, oh.
I love it.
So, like, this is what I mean. Like, you need to find a way to control as much as you can, whether you're doing affiliate, e-commerce, digital products, doesn't matter. Own the customer data as much as possible. But yeah, so the e-commerce guy you're talking about.
Greg, can I just jump in there? Just for our listeners, particularly say if you're a beginner, or actually for anyone, do you think, is there a little bit of a snipering opportunity here where you could sniff around if you got the time to find, say, even smaller sites or just websites, actually it doesn't matter what size they are, but like what we're teaching, that have the ability to add a list in, but you buy it cheap based on what it's doing now, and then you might have a 1 to 2 year reno plan where you just build the list and then remonetize that list and sell it. I think that could, because there's a lot of people that have kind of given up on their affiliate sites, isn't there? Or they're selling them at a very low multiple, or they're selling them at a realistic price. Like you said, it's, you can pick up, if it's based on what it's doing now as an affiliate site, imagine if we could do what that gentleman did, where you put in a list and then you start remonetizing that list. I think there's a real opportunity there to make some good money if you stick at it.
Absolutely. We've sold newsletters and they don't really have websites, right? Like we've sold newsletters before the Beehive and Substack craze that came about the last couple of years, right? Like that strategy, I think is fantastic because most affiliate site owners, I gave you this analogy yesterday, but most affiliate site owners, what they do is they build a brochure website. And brochure websites, like I'm walking down the street, I hand you a brochure, you got two options. You're going to throw away the brochure, or you might buy what's in the brochure, then throw it away. Either way, you're throwing it away, right?
Yep.
So I always tell people you should focus on building magazines. If we're walking down the street, give you a magazine, you read it. Hey, this is really interesting. Maybe you buy something from one of the ads in there, but you're now subscribed to The Economist because you like reading the magazine, right? So newsletters are like kind of how you own that traffic to build the magazine is a core part. So if you wanted to do the strategy where like, hey, I don't really care as much about the affiliate site, I want the newsletter to be like the primary monetization, then what I recommend you do is one, you could buy affiliate sites like from me or from wherever. But another thing you can do is since most affiliate site owners are thinking of quick wins instead of like long-term sustainability, most of them aren't building an email list. So you can go reach out to those affiliate site owners, be like, hey, if you put an opt-in for my newsletter, I will pay you a certain amount of money per lead. You only want to do that once you know like what's your like data to get the money back. But if you know you make $50 in the first 30 days of someone joining that newsletter, you pay an affiliate site owner, hey, I will give you $5 per email subscriber you send my way. It's a hell of a deal. And the affiliate site owner is like, what an idiot.
But if you're playing the long game, this is perfect. Love it. And I know this is a favorite strategy of yours, not mine, but I think you can convince me of it.
Oh, the e-commerce one, yeah.
We have to mention, Liz and my background, right? Manufacturing and wholesale import. We're not into physical product type businesses, and we never did it when we got online. Interestingly, the only way we invest into e-commerce sites is through you guys, EF Capital. But
Thank you.
I would never buy an e-commerce site myself. But so anyone listening to this, you guys, all our community know that's where Liz and I are at. But I think you all need to listen to Greg's idea here, especially if you're a little bit more advanced. This is particularly interesting as well. And hopefully Greg's going to share us a really cool example as well. It's in a very common niche that we talk about here at the Digital Investor the Business Institute too. But yeah, what's another way that we can convert or add new monetization to these affiliate sites if we get a bargain one?
Well, just a preface. There's pros and cons to every business model, right? Affiliate displayers have their own cons, and so does e-commerce, but they also have a lot of pros. So
they do.
Basically,
yes.
What I always tell people, like, which business model should I buy? I say you should buy a business where you can do all the models. Like that's the ideal.
That's actually really cool. Well, especially with what we're about to talk about.
So
maybe I need to bit more open there. So, okay.
And we can talk about how to do this, by the way, if you want to like know the steps. But the story is, I have a buddy, Kevin Espiritu, and he didn't learn this from me, even though I've been preaching this for years. I wish I could take credit. I like, oh, you listen to Greg, but he just figured it out on his own, right?
Really, bit, Greg. Come on.
Yeah, really smart guy. So he owned epicgardening.com. And that started off as a very run-of-the-mill Amazon affiliate site in the gardening niche, which is like everyone starts a gardening website, basically, right?
I know the site well, Greg, and we've referenced it quite a few times here over the years as a bog standard Amazon affiliate site. You're right. So huge SEO value, I'm presuming.
Massive SEO value. And so what he ended up doing was he focused really big on building community, which is something you talk about, right? But he did it in his niche site, not in like the B2B space, which is where most of the SEOs try to do it, right? He was actually trying to build a real brand in his niche site. So what ended up eventually happening is he became an e-commerce store selling specific gardening products. And since he has so much SEO traffic, he eventually became, I believe he's one of the largest online retailers now in America for gardening specifically, right? And this started off as just an Amazon affiliate site. And when all this AI doom and gloom started happening in the affiliate site, I reached out to Kevin and I asked him, like, hey man, like, what do you think is going on? Like, how are you affected? The guy has tons of SEO traffic. So he was affected negatively, right? But he told me, like, dude, ever since I became an e-commerce store owner with Epic Gardening, like, SEO is still very valuable traffic, but it only makes up less than 20% of my traffic. He built content organically across all social media. He has like gardening shows, gardening TikToks, Instagram Reels, everything. Like most of his traffic is still organic. It's just he's treating his website as a magazine. Like this is entertainment and educational then coming into the funnel, right? He does it across all social. But he can also run ads now because the margins are thick enough that he's able to make money on it. Versus if you ran ads to affiliate, you have to be crazy good at paid media to make that work. Because I have friends like that too. but it's way more stressful in my view than
Been there,
e-commerce.
done it. You
Yeah.
got to know your numbers if you're listening, and definitely
Yes,
conversions. You
yes.
can blow a lot of money in 24 hours if you're not careful and you
You got to
get that
trust
one
that
slightly
affiliate link
wrong.
provider too, that they're not scrubbing you or something like that,
Yeah,
right?
but
So,
but this is really cool. So he's taken a bog standard affiliate site. Well, let's not say bog standard, but
it was pretty standard when he
actually,
started. I
yeah,
think
yeah,
he'd
it
also
was.
admit
Yeah, we use it
that.
as an example in here because we've been in that niche. We've got lots of clients in the gardening niche. That's a gardening site, and now it's morphed into e-commerce, and it's fine and it's thriving.
Yeah, and so back to the email thing. The important step that he took that most niche site owners still to this day are not taking is
Yep.
he built an email list for Epic Gardening and how he sourced his product. 'Cause to your point, e-commerce could be a massive pain in the butt if you don't know what you're doing. I mean, there's a lot of money to just get your first batch of inventory, right? So
Yeah.
what he did was he built this email list that loved him because of community, right? He kept
Yep.
the SEO brought them in and his content kept bringing them back. You know, a lot of his content isn't even SEO related because it's just entertainment, right? But the SEO was driving it. Anyways, he sent out an email.
Yep.
Hey, I'm thinking about starting my own product line. What would you want to buy from me?
Perfect.
And I got all these emails like this gardening, I think it was a gardening bed, this gardening bed, this is what I want. And so he went and sourced that one thing. And before he even sourced it, he put up a pre-order page for it. Tons of money comes in, and he uses the pre-orders to go buy the inventory. And then he was sold out of that thing for like, I think like 12 or 15 months. Every time you order a new batch, it's just completely gone like immediately, right?
Wow. Yeah. So that is so cool. So it's also shows, I think, like you said, Greg, the power of an email list. It is,
Yes.
I think, for our listeners in our community, as you all know, we're saying this is a big thing. Email lists have always been hugely valuable, but even more so now, and they can actually AI proof our businesses. Also, Greg, I just will reiterate something you said as well. I love the way you've worded it. I've got it written down here. Don't be beholden to one big tech giant.
Yes.
Hopefully that's come across loud and clear, listeners as well. Not just the email lists are very exciting, but it is super important these days. We can't be beholden to just one big tech giant, and these different ways of converting websites or looking for alternative monetizations can be very, very powerful when implemented correctly. And Greg, what I want to do is I do want to finish. There's so much more we could cover, but I do want to finish on one other really interesting part
Mhm.
of the market. I just want to see what your thoughts are, and then I'd love to have you back on the podcast again to keep talking about some other opportunities out there. But we have a lot of clients who are beginners, and we love getting beginners, obviously, to start out safe. So buying small sites. Now, I know small sites can be sensitive, very sensitive now because of the changes. But what are you seeing with sites under, say, 50 grand? The good ones, are they still popular? Do they sell quickly as well? What have you seen on Empire Flippers, and what are your thoughts on the smaller space websites? Doesn't matter what style of business model
Mhm.
it is.
Yeah, well, little known fact, EF still sells businesses at the 50K price range. They just go really,
Okay.
really quickly. So
Yeah.
everyone
So
thinks
how
they can
quickly do
sell
they
them,
say?
but sometimes in days, man, like
Okay.
sometimes hours. Not always. I mean, now the market's a little bit softer, right? But we do get them and they just go really, really quick. So people just think we don't have them.
Okay. Also,
Uh,
I'll just jump in there. Any of our listeners who are thinking of selling, did you just hear that? Go and chat
yeah.
to Greg and the team at Empire Flippers. They're selling these small. So Greg, we've got a lot of clients who are hitting some really cool goals with small, what you would call at Empire Flippers, micro sites. But they're really good
Mm.
sites. They're ticking along still just fine. They're actually growing them and making $1,000 a month, couple of grand a month type thing. So those guys could, if they wanted to sell and flip up to a bigger deal, they could come to you guys and no pressure here, Greg, but maybe sell within a couple of days or something.
Hopefully, like as long as it's a quality site, the market is softer now, so
Yeah.
maybe a week.
Maybe a
But
week,
yeah,
but the point is this. So, okay, so they're still selling no problems. Those ones.
for the most part, yeah. Like sub 100K deals, especially like 50K, like there's such a huge buyer market for
Yeah.
like quality, right? As long as the site's quality, we're still seeing like good activity, right? To your question on advice for buyers, what I always tell people, I think starting small is smart. Like if you're buying micro assets, what I always tell people is like, all right, if you're brand new to business buying, brand new to digital business, Like, what's your budget to buy? Let's say you have 50K.
Yep.
Great. Let's split that 50K into three buckets. You cannot acquire anything bigger than this third price. And the reason I say that is because even if you have a good mentor, good trainer, like someone
Like
like
us.
you, right, you most likely are going to make a mistake or something bad outside of everyone's control. Like a Google update is going to happen that screws
Yep.
you, right? Like this just happens as part of the risk. The reward can be amazing, but there's also always risk. So you want to split this up because you want the ability to take at least a couple punches before you get knocked out of the game. Because by the time you get to the third acquisition, so you lost those other two, like you know so much more now. And like it shouldn't mentally affect you because you already plan to lose it in for the sake of learning. And to show you, like I told you the story earlier, but like once you get going, the ability to change your life dramatically with the internet is crazy. So we had a guy, he bought a $180,000 Amazon FBA business from us, pretty small business for us. Then 22 months later, he's now listing it for sale with us for like $1.1 million. In 22 months, he's become a millionaire, right? You can't do
Millionaire.
that with
Yep.
like any other business asset
Perfect.
or any other investment asset in my mind.
Yep.
But yeah, so my first advice is to buy small, get your wounds, make sure you can play the game to allow yourself to make the mistakes. Like don't put so much pressure on you where you have to like go crazy out of the gate. Most of my friends who have become millionaires in the space, they lost a lot of money in the beginning.
Yeah. It's a
It's just
journey.
nature of the game, right?
Yep.
So play the game knowing that you have budgeted for those losses. And then as you get going, my advice actually switches. Once you're comfortable with understanding how online businesses work, I actually think it can start becoming a lot safer to buy bigger businesses because they're less fragile. I always tell people
Cool.
to start with that small micro asset. And I still think buying a micro asset is better than starting a business from scratch because one of the things you have is proven product market fit. And that is the hardest thing to get in business. In my view, this is why most businesses fail. They never figure it out how to sustainably sell their product. But even on a small affiliate site, like I'm making $1,000 a month, what do we know about that? It has traffic, which already most people don't when they start a business.
Yep.
It's converting, which most people don't ever get with a business,
I know.
where it's profitable. And almost no one gets that because like the failure rate in the startup world is very high. But what we also know is because it has this SEO traffic already, it's not that unreasonable to grow this traffic dramatically by adding more content. But we also know that the margins, the profit margins on affiliate and display ads, very, very low. So go to your website and look at your own display ads. What are your ads selling? Is there a way you can replace that ad with a private affiliate link to that provider, to that e-commerce person? Or can you source that product? Or is it a digital product? Can you make your digital product there? So like display ads are all actually like kind of ironically a great way to do product research for your own site to see what are people clicking on this site.
Yeah, that we get our guys to do exactly that and get those direct affiliate offers.
Oh
That's
yeah,
what
then there's
can.
so much better.
You can
Pays.
approach. Yeah,
Yeah.
one of our friends, he sold a big car website here in Australia for $64 million.
Oh wow.
But yeah,
Good on him.
how it changed for him, he was just, we all started online together back in 2008. It was just a group of us that start all these sites. And he was just making great money off ads with a car review site, right? So he's getting, car market's pretty good. He's getting good dollars per click, but he's making like,
Mhm.
$20 a click or whatever it was. And he's going, hang on a minute. When Toyota released their new Camry, they're going to spend tens of millions, and they only pay me $20 for a click. I'm going direct to them, and so
Yeah.
that's when his whole business model changed, and it just went through the roof. So that's a really, really cool way to go big when you've got some experience, like Greg said. So I love what you've said, Greg. There is like we teach: start out small, get the learning over with, and then when you're ready to step it up, you're recommending people actually buy something decent sized that's a bit more stable.
Yeah, yeah. I think so. M&A is a weird thing where you ironically will spend more of your money if you buy small, and you will spend less of your money if you buy big, which is
Okay.
a like I don't know any other industry necessarily like that. And what I mean by that is what we talked about at the beginning, which a bigger business has more aspects that can be financed. Like, for example, a marketing agency. So we didn't sell this one. It's a friend of a friend that bought this one. So he bought this marketing agency and he didn't have the money for the down payment. What he did was he looked at all the contracts that they had. So their contracts were like for 18 months or something like that. And less than half of the clients were all like halfway through that contract. So he took all those contracts to a bunch of banks in America and he
Right.
found one that would lend him the money using the contracts as future
Right.
revenue, right? And that's how he got into that business. Now, when you look at the debt stack that he had, which is just this, let's say he loses 50% of the net profit of the monthly net profit to pay back the debt, right? But he's still making fifteen to $20,000 a month in
Yeah.
profit, like after that, right?
Yeah.
And he's growing it. And if the business goes bad, like there's ways you can do financing where it'll say like the business like fails, which does happen. As long as you financed in the right way, it doesn't affect you at all because I could put it in a special purpose vehicle, right? So that's what I mean. Like it's very ironic. Like a lot of people, they want to start small, which I think is good advice. But then once they get going, they have this fear of buying something too big. Like, no, buying bigger often is easier and safer. So
Yeah.
that's the ironic thing of M&A.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that is awesome. And flicking back to starting small, do you guys have any options for that? I
Oh
believe
yeah.
you do
Yeah,
have
yeah.
an option now coming up for our listeners if they do want to start out small.
Yeah, so we have I want to say new, I relaunched is probably the correct term. So
Yep.
we relaunched moneynomad.com. So we have always wanted to have a place that we can help people sell like profitable side hustles, micro assets, but it never made sense to keep doing that for us as we went more and more up market, like from a revenue standpoint. So we're now launching, and I would still say this is experimental for us because we've only launched it like officially maybe 2 weeks ago. But what Money Nomad is, as long as your business is making money, making a profit, and it's less than $2,000 a month, which is the EF threshold, as long as it's making less than $2,000 per month, you can list it on Money Nomad and have a DIY experience where like we connect you with the buyers. So all the Money Nomad listings, they get promoted to the EF listings as well.
Oh,
So
yeah.
if you're looking for from a selling aspect, that's like the
Cool.
marketing stuff. From a buyer aspect, these are businesses that are usually going to be priced. Well, we're still figuring out how to do this correctly, but usually they should be priced like less than 60 grand. So there should be a lot of businesses as it gets going in the like 5 to 10 or $20,000 range, right? Now it's still really, really new. We only have a few listings up there, but I do recommend go check it out. Like once we figure out the automation stuff with it, I think we'll be able to go a lot faster. And we're still trying to figure out the exact way to make sure that it's upheld to the Empire Flippers standard, right? Because we
Yeah.
don't want it to become like another marketplace where people can just like, oh, I'm making $50 a month. Give me $100,000. Like, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Got to be realistic.
well, yeah.
Yeah.
So right now it has a bit of that problem because we haven't figured that out. Like the best way to educate the sellers, like, no, you need to like price it realistically, right?
Yeah.
But also still giving them the freedom to price it however they want. Sometimes it makes sense for a seller to price it more aggressively because it's justifiable. I always say if you're going to charge an exceptional price, you better have an exceptional business, right?
Business.
So you need to justify it. And sometimes that is true. They should be allowed to do that. But so that's a new thing we just launched. It's still kind of like in soft launch. We're not going hard at it yet because we want to figure out all the back end. But yeah, I highly recommend your students come over and check it out. I think there's
Yeah. So
probably going to be many businesses on there and not just content sites. There's KDP, faceless YouTube
I
channels.
noticed there's an
So yeah,
info product site on there right now.
info product website.
And
Yep.
it's got a list
So
that actually looks pretty cool. So
yeah,
it's in a good niche. So it,
I'll let Andy know you're looking to buy it, Matt.
yeah.
So we'll make this podcast ROI positive for us.
It's a little
But
bit small for
yeah,
us, but I'm just suggesting, like for our listeners, if you are thinking of, you want to get started and you want to buy a small site, go and check out Money Nomad. It's the new kid on the block and it will come with the Empire Flippers quality as well. You do need to do your own due diligence or the usual kind of
absolutely.
thing, but it's a really good option, guys, if you're new to this, to dip your toe in the water. There are sites they've got to make less than $2,000 a month. And also, I know a lot of our listeners, when you're looking to sell those smaller sites, why not consider Money Nomad? Make sure you go and check that out. Hey,
Yeah,
Greg.
absolutely. One thing on that, if you use Money Nomad, please come and annoy Andy and me with as much feedback as possible. Like I
Ooh,
said, it's really new. So we want to hear from you guys to make sure we can make sure it's heading in the right direction. So that would be extremely valuable to us. Even if you absolutely hate it and you want to cuss Greg out, that's fine. I also listen to your feedback.
Well, this has been fantastic, Greg. I'd love to have you back on and chat about some of the other opportunities that we're seeing out there as well. But I could chat to we could be chatting here for hours, I reckon. So I'm really excited about, I do want to say a big thank you to you today for coming on and sharing so much of your knowledge, your firsthand experience, what you're seeing, also some of your friends' really cool sites as well. There's been some really good ideas here and learnings for any of our listeners, whether they're beginners, intermediate, or advanced. Some really good advice. And what we'll do is we'll get you on again to talk about some other opportunities. But Greg, thanks so much for coming along today.
There you have it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it got you inspired at all the different things that are happening in this industry. And of course, if you just want to buy a highly profitable business, you can always go to empireflippers.com/marketplace, or maybe you want to make an exit of your highly profitable business, and you could go to empireflippers.com/sell your site. I've been your host, Greg. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you leave a review, give us a like, a follow, share it across social media. Talk to you all soon. See you on the next episode.